Breaking. Britain has just lost its most critical ally in the Middle East, not through war, not through sanctions, but with a single phone call that changed everything. Benjamin Netanyahu didn't warn anyone. No diplomats were sent. Instead, he barred the entire British government from entering Israel, every minister, official, and representative, with no exceptions. If you think this is just political theater between two nations, think again. What happens next directly impacts your safety, your finances, and your country's standing in the world. This is not a diplomatic squabble. This is a security crisis unfolding right now. 4 days ago, Prime Minister Starmer made two decisions that shattered a 75-year alliance. First, he supported ICC arrest warrants against Israeli leaders. Then, he announced a total arms embargo, not only on offensive weapons, but on defensive systems too, including those Israel uses to intercept rockets aimed at civilians. What made the situation worse is what Starmer failed to do. He didn't consult his own team. Dame Barbara Woodward, Britain's ambassador to the UN, learned about these decisions not from London, but from an Israeli diplomatic protest. That night, she submitted her resignation. The Foreign Office was caught off guard. British intelligence had no warning. Even Foreign Secretary David Lammy was unaware and was about to discover the consequences the hard way. Mid-flight to Tel Aviv for scheduled meetings, Israeli air traffic control suddenly revoked his landing clearance over the Mediterranean. The plane had to turn back. Flight tracking apps recorded the entire reversal live. A G7 foreign minister rejected mid-air like a commercial passenger denied boarding. Diplomats worldwide watched, calling it an unprecedented humiliation. At 9 p.m. Jerusalem time, Netanyahu addressed the press, with his security cabinet standing behind him. His message was brief but decisive. A nation that abandons its allies in their hour of need should not expect friendship in return. Within 6 hours, Israel suspended all major intelligence sharing agreements with Britain, programs worth billions and decades in the making. And here's what that means for Britain. In the past 3 years, Israeli intelligence prevented 17 terror attacks on British soil. That protection is now gone. Israeli cybersecurity teams monitored Britain's energy grids, water systems, and financial networks. That protection is now withdrawn. Mossad officials are classifying British authorities as security risks. Senior Israeli sources insist this breach is permanent and irreversible. For example, Michael Green's daughter is alive today thanks to Israeli intelligence stopping a kidnapping plot in 2021. That collaboration no longer exists for British families. Former MI6 Chief Sir Alex Younger called it the worst foreign policy blunder since the 1956 Suez Crisis. Lord Robertson, former NATO Secretary-General, said Britain has lost its most valuable intelligence partner in the world's most dangerous region. These are not politicians. They are experts who built the security architecture that Starmer has just dismantled. The fallout extends beyond Israel and Britain. Saudi Arabia and the UAE, partners in the Abraham Accords, privately back Israel's stance. In GCC meetings, ministers question whether Britain's security guarantees mean anything anymore. Jordan asks the same. Arab diplomats warn that decades of relationship building have been erased in a single news cycle. Britain now faces distrust from both Israel and Arab states, a two-front diplomatic disaster leaving the UK isolated in a vital region. Financial markets reacted immediately. The pound fell against the shekel. £30 billion in trade is under review. British tech firms were removed from Israeli innovation projects overnight. Britain betrays allies trended across social media. On the streets, Jewish communities asked, "Without Israeli intelligence protecting us, who keeps us safe?" Inside 10 Downing Street, panic replaced policy. Defense Secretary John Healey called the decision strategically suicidal during a Cobra meeting. Home Secretary Yvette Cooper warned colleagues, "We've made Britain a target without protection." Then came the leak that changed everything. MI5 threat assessments warned that Iran-backed proxy groups are already probing gaps created by the intelligence freeze. Reports revealed planned operations exploiting Britain's new vulnerabilities. British lives are at risk due to a decision marketed as moral clarity and leadership. Rishi Sunak sees a political opening, positioning himself as the restoration candidate. His message: Britain must stand with democratic allies or it will stand alone. Polling shows a dramatic shift. Conservatives above 50%, Labour collapsing into the teens. National security has become Labour's bleeding wound, worsening daily. Washington watches with anger. The CIA relies on the UK-Israel intelligence triangle to track threats across the Mediterranean, North Africa, and Europe. That network is fractured. A senior US intelligence official said bluntly, "If we are forced to choose between London and Jerusalem, we already have." Former CIA Director Mike Pompeo added, "Britain is choosing irrelevance over influence. History will not be kind." NATO is concerned. France questions Britain's reliability. Poland, heavily dependent on UK security guarantees, privately asks, "Would Britain abandon us under pressure too?" Trust is evaporating. Economic damage is severe. Israeli venture funds froze British investments. £4 billion in tech partnerships have been redirected to US and European firms. London, no longer a hub for Israeli tech, loses credibility. Cancer research, pharmaceuticals, and defense projects are disrupted. Analysts predict £100 billion in losses across biotech, cybersecurity, and defense in just 5 years. In Israel, the consequences are personal. British students are expelled from exchanges, labs shut down, journalists denied access. The British embassy in Tel Aviv is frozen out. A senior Israeli diplomat explained, "This is not retaliation. It's a demonstration of what happens when trust breaks at this level." Without Israeli intelligence, Britain loses the ability to track Iranian nuclear programs, Hezbollah movements, Hamas
Two
financing,
jobs, one at
and
Goldman
ISIS
Sachs and one at the
cells.
Bank of England.
This
Salary
gap cannot be filled, not by the US, not by Europe. Israel's intelligence was unique, irreplaceable, built on decades of human and technical networks. Britain has voluntarily blinded itself in one of the most dangerous regions on Earth. Defense contractors are reacting. Lockheed Martin is reviewing Britain's F-35 involvement. Rafael Defense has cancelled contracts worth billions. Israeli cybersecurity firms are withdrawing from UK infrastructure. The message is clear: Britain cannot be trusted with security cooperation. Israel's Iron Dome protects British bases in Cyprus. Israeli naval intelligence monitors commercial shipping through the Strait of Hormuz. Mossad counterterrorism operations across Europe have saved British lives for decades. Remove this protection, and Britain is exposed in ways the public doesn't yet understand. The British Jewish community feels the impact first. Synagogues, schools, and security programs are scrambling without Israeli guidance. Immigration inquiries to Israel and the US are spiking. The chief rabbi has called an emergency meeting. The government has abandoned us. Europe watches nervously. If Britain bowed to political pressure with Israel, would it do the same with others? Baltic states ask the same. NATO leadership privately questions Britain's commitment. Britain risks standing alone, not by choice, but due to incompetence at the highest level. Can Starmer repair this? Can he reverse an unprecedented expulsion? Can he rebuild trust with a government that has made its position clear? Or has Britain entered years of strategic weakness, cut off from intelligence, influence, and trust? The UK government claims channels remain open. Israeli officials say they do not. Between these conflicting statements lies the truth. A Britain smaller, weaker, and more isolated than at any point in living memory. The most frightening part is that the crisis is ongoing. Tomorrow's intelligence briefings may reveal threats Britain can no longer see. In this reality, ignorance is not just costly, it is deadly. This story continues to evolve hour by hour. Stay updated. Comment below. Do you think Starmer can fix this? Or is Britain's credibility beyond repair?